everyone, today I'm going to be doing an eyeshadow palette declutter video since I have decluttered a couple new palettes, so I thought that I would do an updated declutter video. So if you want to see me declutter some eyeshadow palettes, just keep watching. I'm decluttering the Violet Voss Forget Me Not palette. I literally just bought this, but it's kind of one of those buys where I regret buying it because I know I don't need it. It is a stunning palette, don't get me wrong, but it's just a little lackluster for me. The only shade that I'm in love with is that teal shade, which I used in a look I did, but honestly, this just isn't a palette for me, so I'm either going to return it or like sell it to a friend because I did buy it myself. But yeah, it's just not amazing. That peach shade though is good, and the teal, the rest, that's a decent shade, but the rest just kind of don't speak to me. That shade is also nice, but again, this is just not a palette I need. I have these colors elsewhere, hence why I'm decluttering it. I'm decluttering the Colourpop All That palette because I honestly have not reached for it since I bought it. I don't even think I've done a look with it. I literally think I just swatched it and that's it. That being said, this palette is stunning. I just think it's a little bit too pale in the top row for me, and then you have a pressed glitter, one of those weird chunky metallics that I do not like. It's just overall not a palette that I'm here for, not a palette that I need. I bought it basically for the grungy shades, but again, there's like two and then a black. It's just not a palette that I need. I have other palettes that are more that are better color wise than this one. Like I have the X's and O's Colourpop palette, and I have the whatever palette, which is more like orangey reddy tones, but this one is just not a palette that I need in my life, and I'm decluttering it. I'm also decluttering the Juvia's Place, the Violets palette. This just has too many shimmers and not enough mattes for me. I'm also not the biggest fan of the shades in this palette. I just don't like the color story. The dark color isn't the best quality. The only reason I've kept this is for this shade, and I haven't even reached for this palette. I love their 6-pan eyeshadow palettes, but this just isn't it. I just don't like it. It's just not for me. The shades are beautiful. I just don't see myself reaching for this palette, and I haven't since I bought it. So if that doesn't say I'm not going to get use out of it, I don't know what will. It is a beautiful palette. It is purple. It just has 4 metallics and 2 mattes, so your like range of looks isn't really that diverse, especially because I personally don't use shimmers in the crease or anything like that, so really there's only so many looks I can do. The formula is fine. It's just the color story that I don't like that much, which is surprising considering I love purple eyeshadow palettes, but this one is just not it for me. Next, I'm decluttering my Colourpop Honey palette. I love this palette, but it's just not a palette that I reach for or that I need. The quality is great and it's an affordable palette, but I just know that I have yellows and other palettes that I use more, and this is just not a palette that I got much use out of to begin with anyways, so I decided to declutter it. It is stunning. I mean, look at those shades, and part of me is like, am I sure I want to declutter this? But I do. I've already decluttered it. It's gone, but it's just really pretty. Moo! What's your problem? My cat is like meowing at me, but this is what the palette looks like with flash in case you are curious. Oh, hello. It is a good palette. Colourpop's my favorite brand, but it's not a palette I need, hence why I'm decluttering it. The next palette that I'm decluttering is the colored Raine and Power palette. This palette is stunning, and I've had it in my collection for quite a while, which is why I finally decided that I was going to declutter it. I just don't reach for it. I know if I want to wear these tones, I do have them in other palettes and in single eyeshadows, and I just know that someone else out there will get use out of this palette more so than I. I have way too many palettes to be holding on to stuff that I just haven't reached for literally since I bought it. I do love these dark berry shades, and that's kind of why I've been keeping it. And the quality's amazing, but I just can't keep holding on to palettes like this. It's beautiful, but it's just not something I reach for, so I did decide to declutter it. This is without flash, by the way. It's stunning. I don't know if it's available anymore. I don't think so. You can see my cat's tail moving, but this palette's stunning. It's just not a palette that I need the color story for, so I am decluttering this one. I've decided I'm decluttering my Venus I still can't speak. I decided that I am decluttering my Lime Crime Venus Immortalis palette. This palette is stunning, but it's just not there quality-wise for me. I just personally am not the biggest fan of it. The gray shade Ash is awful. There's no pigmentation, and the fact that there are only like 4 like true mattes kind of bothers me, considering like I do really like the shade Unveil. That is a beautiful like reddish brown, but it's just, this is just not a palette that I reach for. I have other gray tone and like darker palettes that I personally use. Like I definitely prefer like Colourpop Smoke Show. Even the Wicked palette by Unicorn Cosmetics has better grays and stuff like that, so I personally think I'll get more use out of those palettes. The metallics in here are very stunning, but I just know I don't need them. Like, they're very pretty, but I don't need this palette as much as I want to love it. I do not, which is why I'm decluttering it. The shade Echo is definitely my favorite. Whoa, okay. We're a mess today. It's the top shades, so it's basically just like a goldy beige color, and I'm sure I have a shade like that in a different palette. So Venus Immortalis is going bye-bye. Lastly, wow, I cannot speak today. I am decluttering the Berries palette by Juvia's Place. Juvia's Place has some stunning quality, and this is an affordable palette. I believe it's $16 US. It does not come with a mirror, which is fine because it is very affordable, and these eyeshadows are huge. I do really love the quality of these palettes. I actually find them quite good, but this is just not a palette that I reach for. I've been holding on to it for a while, but I think I have these tones elsewhere. If I don't, then I'll end up keeping it because this is a really nice palette, but I just don't think I need this palette, and from what I remember of my extensive collection, I do have shades that are good like this elsewhere, although that red shade really does speak to me. I swatched it and I'm like, hello. It's beautiful. So this is like one of those palettes where I'm like, am I actually gonna declutter this? I think I am though. It's just not a palette that I reach for. I do really like the color story though, and I love how there are more mattes than shimmers. That's always make me happy. But yes, I'm going to declutter this, most likely. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed, make sure you subscribe, comment down below any videos you'd like to see me do. Go follow my TikTok and Instagram, Makeup by Tasha XO, and I will see you in the next video. Bye. Why must you always interfere with my filming?
Look at those toesies. Look at that little brown spot. I never noticed that dark brown spot on your toes. Your toes. I see 'em. I see 'em. You know you're in my way. You know that? You're in my way. He doesn't listen.
What are you doing? You're weird. What are you doing? You're weird. Every time I try to film, there's always a cat. You're a brat. You are? You're a brat. What are you... Why do you lay on everything? You're such a sweet cat, but you keep getting in my way. You do, you keep getting in my way. I'm just trying to film, man.
Bye-bye. We'll be back later.
She's trying so hard to lay with him. Aww. You guys are cute.